So let's get to our first piece of homework. So the first thing we're going to do is answer a couple of questions about our idea or our startup that will kind of help categorize you into startup versus non-startup. So the first thing is ask yourself, what problem is your startup looking to solve? Be simple and clear. If it takes you more than 2 sentences, you're not starting a startup. You need to be very articulate. You need to be able to say this in probably 175 to 100 words or even less. You should be able to articulate the problem clearly, right? The next thing you want to do is ask yourself these series of questions. So the first one is, does my idea solve a problem for people in my target market? Now, your target market is a group of people that you are trying to sell something to get to use your app, your business, whatever it is. Next one is, are there less than 5 businesses in my target market who do what I want to do? So for example, you may want to start a food delivery startup. But like in Lagos, at least there are at least 5 people doing it. And there are big players doing it. So like there's Jumia Foods, there's all the little independent companies. There's I think OPay just launched one, or is thinking of launching one. Shh, you didn't hear from me. Yeah, there are a lot of people in that space already, so it's difficult to innovate in a space that's already at critical mass. Uber is another example. Like there's Uber, there's Bolt, there's Taxify. Like there's so many of them that like, why are you even entering that space? The next one is, does my business rely on technology that wasn't available 5 years ago? Now, I picked 5 because it takes a little while for technology to stabilize, right? But any technology that's less than 5 years old is fairly new and probably is just getting to the point where the masses have it. It's not just a few people like the masses have it. But it depends on technology. For example, virtual reality has been here for years and years and years, at least 10 years old. But it's not really, it's not really popular in the market. Most people don't have VR headsets. Yeah, so use that 5 years as a guideline, but really what you're looking for is a technology going to be easily available to you and to your customers. The next one is the process that people use to solve this problem today painful in ways that people might be willing to pay to solve it? Now, there are a few keywords in this question. It's a bit long, it's a bit complicated, but everybody already solves their own problems, right? So if you have a problem, is the process painful? Going back to our Uber example, the process before was you walk all the way to the taxi park, you would go and haggle with the taxi driver, and you would go. Now, would people pay more for the taxi if they didn't have to do that haggling and if they didn't have to walk so far? And the answer for Uber was yes. So you make an educated guess whether people would be willing to pay to solve that problem. And if you answer yes, then you can go on. So can I solve this problem for 10 people? So if you can't solve this problem for 10 people, odds are you're not thinking about your business properly and you haven't really like modulated what the idea of the problem is to solve. So, and I mean solve this problem. It could be slow, it could be manual, but you should be able to have a way to solve it for 10 people roughly in your mind. Right? So let's do an example, right? So for the first one, we're going to say, what's the problem? So I want to help farmers plow their fields faster so they can plant more crops and spend less time in the sun and have less injuries. So we're going back to that old farm example just to show that a startup is actually timeless, right? So the first question, does my idea solve a problem? Yes. So farmers, in our hypothetical scenario, farmers use their hands to dig and they often can't work because of the damage to their hands. So this is a very tangible, real problem. And you can already imagine that the people who do this would love to have a way that they wouldn't have to damage their hands and they wouldn't have to work these long hours in the sun. So are there less than 5 businesses in my target market who do what I want to do? Yes. No one does this. Yes, I learned the technique in Egypt. So let's say you were a world traveler, you left your village, you went all the way to Egypt and you found, whoa, these people are using this miraculous tool and people's hands aren't as damaged and they're spending less time hoeing. They can have larger fields because they have this technology, right? But in your local village, you don't have anyone who's doing that. Nobody's selling hoes, so brilliant startup idea. So does my business rely on technology that wasn't available 5 years ago? The answer for this would have been yes in our hypothetical solution. We finally have a local blacksmith so we can actually make the hose, because it doesn't make sense if we didn't have a blacksmith and we can't even, and we started trying to sell a hoe business. It would be so difficult because we would have to go all the way to where the local blacksmith was and lug all these things. So it may be too expensive to sell the hose. So the technology has to be readily available. So is a process that people use to solve this problem painful in ways that people might be willing to pay to solve it? Yes. So in this scenario, it takes 10 hours to plow a field. With the hoe, we can reduce it to 8 hours, which means farmers can grow more and make more money. And if we can prove to them that they'll make more money, they'll be willing to spend on the hoe. Can I solve it for 10 people? Definitely, I know at least 10 farmers. I can take orders for the local farmers and have a carpenter make the handles and have the blacksmith make the blades after I've received the order. So I don't need to do anything or spend any money up front. I just need to leverage the trust that I have on my existing farmers. So you should be doing this exercise for your idea. It's very simple. Just answer these questions one after the other. Be honest, be truthful with yourself. Try to use real world tangible examples and notes, and be true to the answers. It will really help you figure out if you're in that startup space. So if you answered more than three or more of these questions with yes, then odds are you have a startup on your hands. Congratulations. If you don't, well, come up with another idea, but you can use more, you can keep going with the course and use some of these techniques in your traditional business, but just know that you already have a template, so you don't really need to like focus as heavily on the risks in this market. If you answered no to all of them, odds are you can just clone whatever businesses exists in the future. But even if you answered no to all of them, the next chapter, which is validation, will really help you decide whether or not you should move forward with your ideas. So that's it for chapter 1. I hope you did the homework. Feel free to send me your homework answers via email. Again, it's tammy@sitebuilder.com.ng, and I love reading them and helping you figure them out. Looking forward to seeing you in the next chapter.